When is enough enough? Welcome to day 16. My name is John, and it's great to be with you guys on this Wait No More video devotional journey. And today we're looking at a story that includes family members. And as you know, and I know, and we know, a lot of times family can be just the most wonderful thing in the world. And then there's also times where it can be difficult. It can be challenging. There can be disagreements between family members. And this is what we see going on in Genesis chapter 13. We see the story, if you want to go ahead and open up to Genesis chapter 13, between two men by the name of Lot and Abram. Abram, eventually his name is changed to Abraham, so you've probably heard of Abraham. If not, Abraham is one of the patriarchs. The blessing, the promised land that we're learning about, land west of the Jordan, was first promised to Abraham. And so as a church, we're going through the story of Joshua and the people of God moving from the east, beyond the Jordan, to the west, to the promised land. Well, that promised land originates with this guy by the name of Abraham. And we'll see that promise here in chapter 13. So it's pretty neat just connecting the Old Testament. We'll start in verse 5 today. If you're there in Genesis 13, we'll start in verse 5. It says this: Now Lot, who was moving about with Abram, and just quick pause here, Lot is Abraham's nephew. And I've been incredibly blessed to have some nieces and some nephews. And nephews who are watching this, I love you guys. Hopefully you're paying attention. This one is really important for all of us. It says, Now Lot was moving about with Abram, also had flocks and herds and tents, but the land could not support them while they stayed together, for their possessions were so great that they were not able to stay together. Pretty clear what's happening here. God had poured out tremendous blessing on both Abraham and Lot, and certainly in their nomadic life and lifestyle in the Old Testament, they would graze their sheep and all their different livestock, and they had tents, and there's just a lot of people that came with them, and so they needed some more space. It says this: quarreling arose between Abram's herdsmen and the herdsmen of Lot. The Canaanites and Perizzites were also living in the land at that time. Verse 8, Abram said to Lot, hey, let's not have any quarreling between you and me, or between your herdsmen and mine, for we are brothers. And there's been some conversation about that. Is Lot Abraham's brother, or is he his nephew? Well, he's his nephew, and so this is this figure of speech, like we're family, like we're brothers. We shouldn't be having this quarrel between us. It is not the whole land before you, Abraham says to Lot. Let's part company. If you'll go to the left, I'll go to the right. If you go to the right, I'll go to the left. And I love the logic here between Abraham. It seems to be a very simple solution to their problem. But verse 10 says, Lot looked up, and he saw that the whole plain. So if you have a highlighter, go ahead and highlight that or underline that. Lot looked up and he saw. Lot looked up and he saw. He looked up and he saw that the whole plain of the Jordan was well watered, like the garden of the Lord, like the land of Egypt. It says this, verse 11, so Lot chose for himself what? Some? Nope. The whole thing. The whole thing. And this is our question, is when is enough enough? I think it's a really important question for me to ask, for me and Kelly to ask when it comes to our life, when it comes to what God has blessed us with, our resources. And right now we're in this Wait No More journey, and it is all about our discipleship. And a key component of our discipleship has to do with our possessions. Our possessions have this really unique ability to possess us. This is why Jesus taught on possessions more than anything else besides the kingdom of God. And so Lot, in this moment, he looks and he begins to see, like, oh, I want the whole thing. So Lot, he looks up and he sees that the whole plain of the Jordan was well watered. Yep, and he's like, I'd like to have that. So he chose for himself the whole plain of the Jordan and set out toward the east. It says the two men parted company. Abraham lived in the land of Canaan, while Lot lived among the cities of the plain. And then it says this in verse 13, now the men of Sodom were wicked, were sinning greatly against the Lord. Verse 14, the Lord said to Abraham, after Lot had parted from him, lift up your eyes from where you are. I love this moment. And we can imagine what was going on in Abraham's heart as Lot is choosing for himself everything, the whole place. And yet God says to Abraham, I want you to lift up your eyes from where you are and look north and south and east and west. All the land that you see I will give to you and your offspring forever. I will make your offspring like the dust of the earth, so that if anyone could count the dust, then your offspring could be counted. Go, walk through the length and breadth of the land, for I am giving it to you. Verse 18, so Abram moved his tents and went to live near the great trees of Mamre and Hebron, where he built an altar to the Lord. This question, when is enough enough? It's a question that we need to get settled sooner than later. I love that we have high schoolers watching this. We have college students, young adults, young professionals watching this. Just a few nights ago, as a family, we sat around the table and I talked to our kids about what their Wait No More financial commitment was going to be. They were a little bit surprised. They didn't know that they were making a financial commitment. And yet I shared with them, I said, hey, when we have grand opening weekend in a couple years, or hopefully not that long, we'll see when that date happens. When we're able to have this grand opening weekend, I want you as then teenagers to be able to sit there and feel what you need to feel, which is you invested financially into this thing. I want you as girls to be able to sit there and know that you were part of this, that Wait No More included your own sacrificial generosity. And so we talked about that as a family, and we talked about, all right, so you don't have jobs like 9 to 5, but you do babysit. And so we had this conversation with them. And the reason that's important to begin that conversation, I followed up the next day and I just said, hey, if you're faithful with little, God says, then you can be faithful with much. And so now is a time for us to have these discipleship conversations when it comes to our resources, our possessions, sooner than later. And we can begin to get clear on when enough is enough. I've shared with you before, a great way to figure that out is what Pastor Andy Stanley says, the 10-10-80, that you would give the first 10%. And this is priority giving, and it's percentage giving. That's the first, and that goes to God. The next 10 is what you save, and then you live off the rest. 10-10-80 is a great, simple way for us to know when enough is enough. Otherwise, what can happen is we can begin to look up and look around and say, man, I think I'd like the whole thing. And so let's have that conversation sooner than later. Maybe we work the 10-10-80, but make no mistake, Wait No More is an opportunity for us to look more like Abraham and less like Lot. That we would not operate from a scarcity mindset, but we would operate from an abundance mindset, because God spoke to Abraham and said, hey, don't worry about it. A day is coming where I'm going to give the whole land to you and your offspring. And so we're going to operate and live from an abundance mindset. When is enough enough? That's all we have for today on day 16. We'll see you guys tomorrow for day 17.